Alright, guys. With the Detroit Lions sitting at 0-9 and very quickly coming up on some historic levels of futility, I kind of thought to myself over the last week, what could they do to win a game? So, if any of you Detroit Lions people, executives, the new general manager or whatever happen to come across this, I have 7 innovative ideas that could possibly lead to at least one win for the Detroit Lions, because obviously what they're doing now does not work. So, number 1, the Miami Dolphins this year turned it around by going back to the high school ranks and finding a new game plan from high school that they could put in the NFL. And that worked well for them. They're relevant again this year compared to 1-15 last year. So, my recommendation is to go to the high school ranks and find your own game plan that will take teams by surprise and possibly even become the new NFL fad. My recommendation is the A11 offense, and basically what that is a play where all 11 players on the offense could possibly be a wide receiver. Everybody reports is eligible, and ultimately only 5 go out to catch passes, but before the snap, the defense doesn't know which 5 those will be. It could be any of them. So that could be fun. Probably not legal, but why split hairs over something like that right now with an 0-9 team, right? Maybe you can spin it. Number two, run the J.P. Lossman offense. Basically what the J.P. Lossman offense is, it goes as such. For, let's say you get 70 plays in a game. For 50 of those plays, you just run the ball, kill clock, try and grind out some first downs, just, conservatively go for it. But about 15 to 20 times a game, you throw up long bombs and or Hail Marys. Now, and that's all your offense is. Anybody can run it. Any offense can at least at least use it. And what this will do is when you're running the ball, okay, that works. Obviously, any team should be able to at least do handoffs. And when you throw it deep, either the ball falls incomplete, which is no big deal. The ball gets intercepted, which is like a punt. So really, you didn't lose that much. Or your player catches it, which is great because that's a big gain for the offense. Or, and this could happen maybe even a little too often with the way the wide receiver rules have changed over the years, the defensive back will get called for pass interference by, I don't know, maybe he'll breathe on the receiver, maybe he'll get within his bubble, his 2-yard bubble of privacy, or just do something to draw a pass interference flag. And you could probably draw a couple of those because there was a penalty, some of them because the referee was blind, just something. So if you run that offense, you might be able to squeeze out about, I'd say, you'll probably get picked off 3-4 times, you'll probably catch 2 or 3 passes, you'll probably draw 3 or 4 flags, and in between that and whatever you get in the running game, maybe you got something, but it's definitely better than what they got right now, especially with a guy like Calvin Johnson. Number 3, run the Rex Grossman offense. And basically, the Rex Grossman offense is a little like the J.P. Lossman offense, except you never run it. Every play, you just throw up a Hail Mary. And, desperate times call for desperate measures, and this team has one player going for it right now, and that's Calvin Johnson. So why wouldn't you favor him? So I say just every play, have your quarterback drop back deep, roll out if need be, load up, and chuck it as deep as he can. Hail Marys, long passes. And you either just keep doing that until it works, or you wait for the other team to catch on and start playing accordingly, and maybe then you can adjust. But it's better than what they got right now. Number 4, run a playground offense. Basically, what you need to do is get your hands on as many quarterbacks who played, quarterback in college or high school, but not in the NFL. Examples include like Marcus Vick, Antoine Randall L., Drew Bennett, Anquan Bolden. There are others too. I think Larry Fitzgerald even played quarterback at some point. So basically, you're going to go out and get your hands on as many of these guys as you can. Skill position players who can throw the ball. And then just get them all on the field at once. You could have a guy like Seneca Wallace at quarterback and Antoine Randall L. at receiver and Drew Bennett at receiver and Marcus Vick as receiver over here. And basically all your receivers are quarterbacks. And then every play is like a reverse where all the wide receivers come and converge back on the quarterback, and anything could happen from there. The quarterback could toss it to any of those guys who would then either run with it or throw it to another one of them who could then throw it back. Basically, you'd have 6 quarterbacks on the field, and they could just toss it back and forth between each other, and just anything could happen. And maybe a couple times a game you could get out a big play. Eventually something has to work, so that could be fun. And if they're going to keep losing, they might as well at least have fun doing it, right? Number 5, a lot of people over the years have talked about how great some NBA players would be in the NFL. So why don't we take this opportunity with this historically bad team in the Detroit Lions and see what happens? The Lions should call up the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Phoenix Suns, and the Houston Rockets and see if they can't get LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, and Yao Ming to take their Sundays off, come to Ford Field or wherever the Lions are playing their game, and put them at wide receiver and tight end. So we can finally put that debate to rest. Would LeBron James be a great wide receiver or tight end in the NFL? What about Shaq? What about Yao Ming? Because he's so tall, people have talked about him. It might fail epically. In fact, all of those guys could completely flop and maybe even get seriously injured, but at least we will know, and that'll be nice. Number 6, we run the Wildcat offense with Calvin Johnson, because I'll be damned if there's another good player on this offense, a good player that's not Calvin Johnson. I mean, the second best player I know is Ernie Sims, and he's just okay. So why not get the ball in the hands of your best player every single play? Good things have happened this year when Calvin Johnson has the ball in his hands. So why not just run a play where he touches the ball every time and run the Wildcat? And number 7, this is probably the best idea. In fact, I think if the Lions use this idea, they could win out. They need to work a trade for either Ellis Hobbs from New England or Kevin Hobbs from Seattle. Do whatever they got to do to make that trade with New England. I don't really know. They could probably get Kevin Hobbs out of Seattle for like a 6th rounder or 7th rounder. And then they would have Calvin Johnson and Ellis Hobbs. So they would have Calvin and Hobbs. Now they can play Calvin ball instead of football. And for those of you who don't know what Calvin ball is, it's a game played with a Calvin ball and any other equipment you happen to have on hand, and the rules are made up as you go along, with the only rule being you can never play Calvin ball the same way twice. So the Lions could possibly win at Calvin ball because you get to make up the rules as you go along. And that is the only rule you have to follow. Other than, you can never play the same way twice. So I think that if they could possibly work something out like that where they could get a Calvin and a Hobbs, maybe they could step on the football field every week and play Calvin ball. And they'd have to win at that, right? I mean, they got to be better at that than football, especially when they got Calvin and Hobbs on their side. Well, those are the 7 ideas I got for the Lions to avoid becoming one of the worst teams of all time. Frankly, at this point, I am rooting for it to happen. But at the same time, I feel for all the Detroit Lions and their fans. So I'm just throwing my 2 cents out there. And those are my ideas, so I'm out.